Hey there, Mama. I'm out here taking a walk at Flat Island Preserve. Kind of looks like a jungle out here, doesn't it? I thought that was appropriate because it can often be like navigating a jungle when you adopt. So I wanted to give you some insight about laying a foundation for connection. Now, my insights may be a bit controversial in some circles, but it worked for us in amazing ways. So I'm going to trust that you're going to go into this with an open mind. Anyway, we got our kids when they were 5 and 6. We didn't adopt them until they were 6 and 7, but they moved into our house when they were 5 and 6. Now, 5 and 6-year-olds are too old to act like little babies, right? Typically, I'd agree with you. But here's the thing. Our kids were left alone for the majority of the first 3 years of their life. They never had anyone to comfort them when they cried. They didn't get rocked to sleep at night when they were babies, or even fed a bottle with someone looking at them in the eye. Their life was really, really hard, and neglect has more of an impact on the brain than other kinds of abuse. So when our kids came into our lives at the ages of 5 and 6, they would often throw tantrums like little 2-year-olds. What we learned was that was exactly what they were. They were 2, or maybe even younger. Because when the brain is too stressed out to even know what's going on in the present, it reverts to the past, especially when that past is full of trauma. It goes back to the time when trauma happened, and for our kids, the major trauma in their life was happening during the first 2 years of development, which is the most important. They never got what they needed as babies, and then as toddlers, and they still had remnants of their own private language, even after being in foster care for over 2 years when we got them. No one ever spoke to them. The adults in their lives partied and slept, and they barely even acknowledged that they were around. When you think about it that way, it makes perfect sense that a kid might need a little extra baby attention, right? So we gave it to them. We started feeding them from bottles, and we would have baby time where we set up a pack and play and let them pretend like they were babies and play with baby toys. And at night, we would rock them in a rocking chair before we put them to bed. And because they were still in foster care, I couldn't do this with Dakota, but I would let Billy put her cheek against my chest right here, just with a V-neck t-shirt on, so don't get freaked out or anything. But that skin-to-skin contact that babies have with their mommies is something that they never got when they were little. So as much as was possible, we gave them what they missed as babies. And because Billy was so small, I was actually able to carry her around in a baby sling for quite a while. She only weighed 30 pounds when we got her, and I figured if I limited myself to about 30 minutes a day, I could probably handle that. They absolutely loved baby time. They would ask me to get the pack and play out, and they would sit there for hours and play with baby toys. They loved being rocked in the rocker and fed from a bottle. I would feed them just the way I had fed my biological son and look them in their eyes while they drank. I know it sounds crazy, but it was the foundation they needed to start feeling better and not be so stressed out. And I think it's interesting that many people who talk about parenting adopted kids, they start with their behaviors from the perspective of punishment in the moment. The thing is, though, if that's the only perspective you ever look at, you'll probably make some progress, but the brain may not actually be healing. And isn't the whole point to help the brain heal so that your child can live a normal life? I know this might be a lot to take in, so I'm going to let you go for now, but I want you to think about what I've said and try to think about ways you could do this with your own adoptive children. Some of them may be too old, but you never know until you ask. You'd be surprised at how many teenagers actually will allow you to feed them from a bottle. It really shows how deprived they were as very young children because they know that deep inside, they need something that they never got. That said, if your older child doesn't want you to do that, don't force it. But think of other things you can do that might trigger healing in their brain that may not be as obvious as feeding them from a bottle. We can talk more about that later, but right now, consider the concepts I've discussed with you about the traumatized brain. And I want to leave you with one more thing that I just thought of. There's significant evidence that if a child does not go through the babyhood and toddlerhood stage in their life, that they'll continue to regress to those stages throughout their lives, even as adults. Have you ever dealt with someone that seems to act like an actual baby when things go wrong at work or at school, or they're faced with a stressful situation? It could very well be that person came from a trauma background, and their brain is literally regressing when they feel stressed out. Just another reason to be patient with the people around us. Anyway, I hope this has helped you, and I will see you tomorrow for another conversation about how the brain heals. Remember, what you're doing matters, and you're not alone. Bye.